All right, it is time to get started. Our timer is out. It's time to move on. We've got a lot of ground to cover in a short little while. I will tell you this is going to be packed with value. So I want to make sure that you are locked in, not distracted. So a reminder, if you weren't on or you're just coming in here in the next couple of minutes, if you will turn off all your distractions, take your cell phones, please turn off the notifications, take your email, take the tabs, take all of that stuff. Please, please, please shut it down. We are not charging you to be here, but this is an expensive time. We've spent a lot of our time on this. You are now spending a lot of your time on this. So we want to make sure that this is a value. I feel very much on the hook when we do things like this. And so there's going to be a couple of outcomes that we're going to do that. And so I'll introduce ourselves. I'll do a couple little things that I think will be helpful for you as we get started. So we're going to talk about this idea of performance reviews. I want to tell you first off that I'm really, really grateful that you have made time to be liberated from chaos so that you can make time for the things that matter most. Now, during our BOP Masterclass time, we're going to lock in on one of two pain points. Let me do one thing. I've actually got it in my script to hit the record button. So I'm going to try to record this. Typically, we do not just send this out. Oh, it's already been recorded, so we're good. All right. We want this to be available to the people who make the time to be here. So during our masterclass time today, we're going to lock in on one of the top two pain points identified by our clients and prospective clients when we see those. And it's this: people. Now, we operate in four primary pain points, and I'll explain those here in a minute. But people is the number one pain point that most people tell us about when we ask, hey, what are you dealing with? And then they'll use this phrase. They'll say this. They'll say, well, Scott, nobody wants to work anymore. Right? We say that a lot. Those of you who have heard us speak, you've heard us say that. Nobody wants to work anymore. Hey, I want to remind you, that is a myth. And it's a myth proven by hundreds of years of articles bearing the same cry. Look at the titles or the embedded in the copy of these articles, that nobody wants to work anymore. Well, it's not that nobody wants to work anymore. It's that they don't want to work in an environment where chaos is the standard of that environment. So today, what we're going to do is we're going to arm you with one of the core pieces to what we train clients on, called the Big Five feedback loop. Now, notice the bottom left down there, that orange piece, annual evaluations. That's what we're going to lock in on today. But an annual performance review or performance evaluation is weakened. It's less effective when it's not supported by, look at the top, a weekly team meeting, a weekly departmental meeting, a monthly executive meeting, and a monthly one-on-one check-in. If you cherry pick any one of these things, all of a sudden you see information there in the center of the circle. Information will begin to leak out, and that information will create confusion and not clarity. So one of our coaches, Sean Stinson, recently provided a powerful masterclass on, in fact, it was a series of 3 weeks. Some of you are on that, of leading team meetings and walking you through both the why, the how, and a bunch of other stuff with it that were incredibly, incredibly equipping. And so you should be equipped with that knowledge. So here's the purpose of our time today. We want to equip owners who have between 3 and 100 employees to provide repetitive, predictable, and meaningful performance reviews to their team that provide one thing above all else. You ready? Here's your silver bullet: clarity. It's not that nobody wants to work anymore. It's what they want to do is they want to have clarity in their work. Clarity in their work. So at the end of this masterclass, I'm going to offer you a way to get the template I'm going to walk you through at no monetary cost to you. So it has cost to us in time and money, but it will cost you some time. So there will be no monetary cost to that, but there will cost you some time. So let me ask you this question: who is Business on Purpose? And so Business on Purpose, we work with business owners between 3 and 100 employees to alleviate the pain of purpose, people, process, and profit. And we use our proprietary installation roadmap, building both the tools to run the business and the processes to run the product. Our service is delivered through a powerful, high-frequency, high-accountability, one-on-one coaching by a team of 12 full-time professionals. Now, not all 12 are on here, but 12 full-time professionals. Now, notice these are W-2 team members. These aren't just people we go, hey, do you want to do a little bit of this, a little bit of that? This is their full-time profession of what we do. We currently work with 104 clients across the Americas to liberate them from chaos, to make time for what matters most. Now, again, I'll show you how you can have a chance to work with this talented team with clear return on investment targets and how to get access to that template at the end of our call. So you get all that once we get into our Q&A time. During this masterclass, I want you to post questions. All right. I want you to just turn off all distractions. Again, the text, the email, you have bought your time to be here. If you don't mind, go ahead and turn your cameras on so that you're locked in. There's some accountability. If you don't have that on, if you're driving, don't worry about it. But otherwise, I'd like for you to turn your camera on so that people can see you diving in and to see you learning. And by the way, I'm really serious about this. You will not make this time again. And we have worked really hard to prepare something of deep value for you. So please don't devalue yourself or us by allowing text, email, Slack messages, or other distractions to interrupt you. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to give you an awkward pause for about 10 seconds. And that's going to give you a chance to turn everything off, get your pens and paper ready, and then we can go liberate ourselves from chaos to make time for what matters most. All right, 10 seconds. Ready? I want you to go get ready. All right, let's roll. Now, if we're conducting a speed test to provoke business owners into a dramatic eye roll, if we wanted to get to all of you to roll your eyes, all we'd have to do is bring up the idea of annual performance reviews, right? And in those, we could add this idea of awkward compensation discussions. And then everybody starts rolling their eyes. The majority of team members walk away not learning more about their own performance in a performance evaluation, let alone with any enthusiasm or courage inviting future challenges and opportunities. In our own business a few years ago, we actually distanced ourselves from the annual performance review in favor of the one-on-one check-in, believing that we could accomplish value for everyone with those RPMs of great leadership: repetition, predictability, and meaning, all during that check-in time. There was a glaring gap, though, and we began to hear about this gap in what we call the blind spots section of the check-ins. And it was that gaping hole left not by asking this question by the team member: overall, how do you feel like I'm doing in my role? And so when we asked that question, they started to think about their role in a deeper perspective. And so even hearing that question, you might feel you're being invited into a trap, right? And that trap, you might not be able to escape. And depending on who you are, you might feel trapped. Now, we're all human. We all have a desire to know how you feel like I'm doing in my role. Like, I want to know that from our clients. Our team wants to know that from Thomas. We ask a similar question in most other areas of life. So it's natural that we would want to know the answer to this question in the area we spend most of our waking hours. So it's not unnatural to ask that question. So is there a way to have a repetitious, predictable, and meaningful reflection as to the performance of each team member at the end of each year that leaves everyone with a sense of hope and opportunity and clarity? We believe there is, and we can prove it because it's happened around here, and we've seen other clients do this as well. The performance review that I'm about to walk you through has a few unique features in it that require an equal amount of feedback from the team member as it does from the leader. You're both evaluating their performance. Did you get that? It has an equal amount of feedback from the team member as it does from the leader. So first, what we've got to do is we've got to understand the purpose of a solid annual performance review. A repetitious, predictable, and meaningful, or RPM, performance review allows each team member to know that they are seen, not just once a year, but throughout the year through engaging meetings, check-ins, and team-centered gatherings. An RPM performance review provides each team member with clarity on how they have performed in contrast to what is expected. An RPM performance review merges the team member's own self-evaluation, that's why this is unique, and their leadership's evaluation of their performance. That is your evaluation of them and their evaluation of themselves. So there are 6 primary sections within the RPM performance evaluation that I think you need to understand. The first section is aligning performance with the mission and values of the business. And so we have the team member actually give feedback through the self-performance evaluation. And in that is the mission and values. Does the employee buy in? Do they truly believe the mission and values by living them out? Now, obviously, in order for them to buy in, they have to know what they are. So if you, as their owner, as their leader, have not provided them with clarity, then how are they supposed to buy in to the mission and the values? Remember, if it's not written down, it doesn't exist. So if you can't show us on paper what your mission and values are, and if the team hasn't been able to dial into those because they're not repetitious and predictable, then they don't exist. The second section is evaluating the cultural engagement. Now, if you've been with us for a while, you've heard us talk about the culture calendar, and we've got a module called the culture calendar module. And so as you've seen or heard through the culture calendar module, culture is intentionally built with the right ingredients over time. Is the employee adding to the culture? Are they coasting on the culture? Are they confusing the culture? The third section of the RPM performance evaluation is the job role, the org chart, and the scorecard alignment. Are they staying focused on the core of what's being tasked day to day? The fourth section is a term we heard coined and used at the Chick-fil-A headquarters in Peachtree City in Georgia, and it was this: full-time best effort. Are they giving more than what's being asked? Are they giving what's being asked, or are they not giving what's being asked? Are they leveraging appropriate time away to rest and recharge? Are they fully present during their work time? Now, a fifth section is a more specific self-evaluation, allowing them to assume what their scorecard, their customers, and their other team members would say if asked about their performance. That sixth and final section of the RPM performance evaluation is an optional compensation section. Now, we suggest a little bit of a unique approach that will be helpful for you and your employee. And this is where I'm going to bring you a little bit of bonus content that we did not advertise in time for our masterclass, but we're actually going to be rolling this out to our clients during prep week in mass and in scale here over the next couple of weeks. One way of this compensation is to presume on compensation increases, right? That's what most people do. There is a presumption that there will be a compensation increase. Well, why would we naturally presume a compensation increase if we're not also going to presume a performance increase? Did you get that? So you may need to write some notes down around that. Why would we assume or presume a compensation increase if there's not a performance increase? A novel approach to the compensation discussion is to actually reflect back on what the employee earned this past year due to their performance, along with opportunities for them to earn more in the coming year based on performance targets. So let's take a past look. What did they earn this past year? And I'll even dial in on this a little bit more. It's not only what did they earn this past year, but what did the business pay out this past year for them? And then to look forward and look at performance targets that we can base future compensation on, especially revenue growth tied to their role. We want to see revenue growth tied to their role. Well, Scott, this person's a bookkeeper. How are we going to see revenue growth? We can identify ways to do that, right? If they're wasting time and money through that, then they're decreasing the bottom line. See, we're far more interested in the bottom line than the top line. You can tell us you're doing $30 million of revenue, but what does the bottom line say? We want to be able to see what that is. All right. So assuming many of your team members have a base, is there a way that they could earn additional money if there was a direct tie back to their work, having helped generate new revenue without additional overhead? And my argument would always be there's always a way. We've just got to be able to find it. So rather than just stamping annual increases, let's find ways that increasing compensation can come with an increase in a performance, in a measurable performance. Now, when it comes to compensation, it's best to follow the old proverb: measure twice, cut once, or measure 5 times and implement once. Remember, this about compensation discussions goes this way. Usually whatever comes out of your mouth, even if you're just spitballing, right? You're just ballparking. Even if you're just talking out loud, if it comes out of your mouth, it's what the employee is going to hear, and human psychology begins to lock that in their brain. So please use discretion when it comes to performance. Use discretion when it comes to compensation. It's actually a way to serve your team by being discreet with what you're saying. Be diligent, be thoughtful, be slow to speak. It will be a value add to everyone else. Now, practically, what I want you to do is go ahead and begin scheduling the days and the times that you will conduct performance reviews, even if it's months away. Now, some of you are going to feel very uncomfortable to go, well, I don't even have like a template to go off of. Don't worry, we're going to provide that for you. And by the time you get to that day and time, you'll be ready. But you know what the number one reason is that people don't conduct meaningful performance reviews? Is because they never put a date on the calendar. So it's the easiest thing you can do. Go ahead and put a date on the calendar. We already have our dates on the calendar. They're going to be coming towards the end of November. The dates are on the calendar. Guess what? We actually have a couple of our team members on this call. The reviews have not been written yet, but they will be by that time. And it gives us a date to push towards. So once it's on the calendar, it's going to be hard to move away from. A few weeks ahead of those scheduled dates, then send out the self-evaluation form, that form that I showed you earlier. Now, you don't need a fancy form like this. This is just done in Google. You can have a spreadsheet. You can have a Google Doc. It doesn't matter. But it's basically a form that gets their feedback so that while you're writing their feedback, they can be writing their feedback. I would encourage you not to look at their feedback before you write their own evaluation. So block time on your calendar to use the RPM performance reviews And what you can do is you can start to create a tool of this template. Again, I'm going to show you how to get access to this template later on. And you're just going to use a couple of sentences for each question, each line, or each section up there. You don't need to write paragraphs and pages for every piece of feedback. Now, at the very end of the evaluation form, there's a space for green, yellow, and reds. This is a time for you to be able to provide insightful and candid feedback in 3 categories. Green flags are those items where an employee is really doing a great job. You should have probably 5 or more green flags in that section. Yellow flags are those items that you want your team members simply to be aware of. These aren't an urgent issue, but we need to be aware of it. You should probably have 4 or less. Again, green flags, 5 or more, yellow flags, 4 or less. Red flags, those are those items that you want to bring urgent attention to for your team member. These are items that, if not addressed, can significantly limit their mobility within the organization and limit their capacity for what they're offering to the client, to the team, to everything else involved. The green, yellow, reds, the performance reviews, all of these are meant to be a refreshing time to provide context to a powerful thought that declares this: apart from the formality of the review, here is simply what I see in you. Now, be careful. Don't get caught in the rabbit holes of, well, I need specific examples. I need specific details around that. No. Part of my role is to be able to step back and go, hey, I don't know all the specifics behind this because there's things I don't see. And quite frankly, I don't want to micromanage. I'm just telling you what I see. If you wish to keep notes from your review, there's an action summary at the bottom. The most challenging part of performance reviews is putting a date on the calendar. That's it. And so I will take a half-baked performance review with full implementation versus a perfect performance review with half-baked implementation. We quote Joe Calloway all the time because it's so powerful. He says this: vision without implementation is hallucination. So if you take time to build out a performance review, then you will have a proper culture. It's biology. It's not luck. And so what you can do is you can start to go live out your business on purpose. So here's what I want to do. I want to stop for just a second. We've got a nice sized group on here. I want to stop for just a second. I want you to go in the chat window, and I want you to do 2 things. Number 1, in the chat window, I want you to write any questions that you have so far about a performance review. And then I'm going to pull up the template here in the meantime so that we can actually walk through that together. So that's the first thing I want you to do. Second thing I want you to do is I actually want you to go to your calendar right now, and I want you to pick the day and the times that you're going to do performance reviews for your direct reports. All right? So go ahead and take about 30 seconds, and I want you to go to your calendar right now, and I want you to pick the time and the day that you're going to do annual performance reviews. It could be November, it could be December, it could be January of this coming year, but I want you to pick the day and the times of the day that you're going to do meaningful performance reviews. Go ahead and take about 30 seconds, and then we'll come back and I'll walk you through what a master performance review template looks like. And again, go ahead and in the chat window, write any questions that you might have. By the way, one of our coaches is actually 2 of our coaches are on here. Brent just sent me a text. He's actually going to have any of his clients that are on here text Brent your date. Ooh, God, just turned up the heat in this room, didn't he? So if you are one of our clients and you're working with one of our coaches, we're gonna expand that to all of you. We want you to text the date to your coach as to the date that you're going to do this. All right. Text the date to your coach so that you've got that in there. All right. We've got a couple of questions that have come in that I want to make sure that we get to. Bob, you've asked a couple of really great questions as it relates to compensation. What about cost escalation per year? And what about expectation for inflation? So here's a couple of thoughts I've got around that. Cost escalation is real. What I would rather do is provide compensation that is always ahead of cost escalation. So you want to compensate at the higher end so that you're always ahead of that. And so instead of focusing on cost escalation, what you're focusing on are ideas for team members to help generate more revenue, help the business generate more revenue, so that cost escalation is never an issue. So that's number 1. And number 2 is expectations for inflation, which sort of goes in with that. And are there times to do that? Yes. Is it every year? I'm not sold on that. I think owners have been sold a bill of goods that we're supposed to just rubber stamp comp increases every year because guess what? We showed up every year. No. It's got to be tied to something much more meaningful than that. Great question. Daisy put on here, you guys do annual reviews on the employee's anniversary. Heck yeah. That is yes. The only thing is make sure that there is repetition, predictability, and meaning. That's it. And so whether it's the end of the year, anniversaries of the year, all that stuff, I think it's brilliant to be able to do that. So great job. Look at the Oregonians coming in and teaching us all what to do. I like that. All right, Les, put the second week of January. All right, Les knows what I'm going to do. He's going to make me do this to him. What's the day of that week? At least give me the day of that week, and then I'll let you off the hook. All right. We've got, oh, there you go. We've got Zoom user. Don't have your name. Sorry about that. But I plan to conduct my team's performance reviews during the first full week of January. Okay, perfect. So it's multiple teams. Why don't you give us 3 dates that you're going to do that so that you're going to roll that out to the team? Michelle, you put for new hires, when is a good time to do an official performance review? We have a new hire that we've done a touch point meeting with, but felt it was too soon to performance review. Okay, I'm going to flip this question a little bit. For those of you who've been around for a little while, one thing I want to remind you of is the 2-week pre-hire and the 4-week onboarding script. You've heard us talk about that. I would much rather you focus on the 4-week onboarding script. And at the end of those 4 weeks, you will simply do an evaluation of how they've implemented that there. All right. How they've implemented that there. That way you don't have to worry about like just kind of winging it or anything else. You go on that 4-week script and you go, all right, let's do an evaluation of where you're at. And if they've done all the work, they've done all the work, right? Then you can give them some subjective feedback for that as well. All right, see some specific dates coming in. Jerome, December 3rd and 5th. Excellent. Max, you put down there January 13th, 14th, 15th. There's Les, came in January 10th. Attaboy, coming in for that. Good job. All right, you guys have dates. If I stop this masterclass there, we have done our job. We have helped liberate you from chaos because you've given clarity by a date. All right. Now I'm going to take it a step further. I'm actually going to show you the template, and then we're going to tell you how you can get your hands on this if you want to for only $199. And if you act now, I'm teasing. We're not going to make you pay for this. Settle down. It's all right. Okay. So here's our performance review. And we built this performance review because we're doing it ourselves. And so I'm just going to show you at the top. I'm not going to walk through every bit of this, but we've got our mission as a business. We've got the 3 purposes of the performance review on here: to let each team member know that they're seen, to provide them with clarity, all these things that I walked you through, and to merge your self-evaluation with the BOP evaluation. So it's a 50-50 proposition. Then the key elements of the review. It's reviewing mission and values, culture, role, scorecard, org chart, full-time best effort, self-evaluation, and compensation. So let me show you what this will look like here in a minute. But before I do, what this is and what this is not. This is a merging of objective feedback and subjective feedback. It's meant to be a truth-filled time of encouragement. It's meant to be a refreshing time that you walk out equipped. It's meant to provide you with an 85%, notice not 100, an 85% complete feedback of what we see. I don't see, when our coaches are behind their doors, I don't see what's going on back there. We can spot check and we can do some different things, but outside of that, we have to trust. We are not in a place where we can micromanage and be a healthy organization. This is also not an automatic trigger for compensation adjustments. It's not meant to be a fault-finding mission, and it's not a time to be made aware of the big issues. Those should be surfaced during the check-ins. And then we've got our 3 outcomes of what we're looking for. So here's what it looks like. There's our mission and values section. So we respond to this question: what's the most powerful story of liberating an owner from chaos this year? You put your own mission in there. And so I'll write out a story and I'll say, wow, Thomas really had, a whatever, and I'll write this story out. It'll be a sentence or 2. And then Thomas is filling this out on his end. And so after I write all of mine here, where have you taken wise risk? Where are you trusting the system versus hiding behind needing more information? What are you learning to become better at marketing, sales, and coaching? So he's self-evaluating. I'm evaluating him. Where have you implemented 4 R's and work worth doing? Those are all of our core values. And then here are some general things that are done and not done that may have inhibited the mission. Now, those are just from BOP. So that's not a self-evaluation. Then we move into our culture section that I told you about. How have you added to the BOP culture this year? How have you relied on the BOP culture this year? And how have you confused the BOP culture this year? Let's have an open discussion about this, right? We all confuse the culture to some extent. So rather than going, I don't know if I have or not. No, we all have. So let's just get that on the table. Then our role, scorecard, and org chart. So where have you gone above and beyond in your role? Where have you evolved in your role? And where have you underperformed? We've all underperformed. I'm on my 4th 12-week plan of this year because we're in Q4, and I can show you every 12-week plan where I've underperformed. Not everything's green on them, right? And so let me out that instead of just going, no, man, I think I'm pretty good, pretty good. And we've all got things we can improve on. Self-evaluation on the full-time best effort. How did you maximize your Monday through Friday? I know there are some of you that have frustration that you don't feel like you're getting full-time best effort from your team. So ask them, how did you maximize your Monday through Friday so that you can crush your role and be present in your personal life? We want there to be a rhythm between business and personal. Remember, life and business necessarily intersect. We say that all the time. So let's have a healthy discussion around this. Did you take a healthy amount of time away from the business? Some team members are going to take a lot. Some team members are not going to take enough. We actually told one of our team members last year, we need you to take more time away this coming year. And so that person has put more time into that because we felt like there was a little bit of tension with home and what was going on. Where did you not take advantage of your Monday through Friday that limited the mission? And if your leadership was asked, how did you utilize your weekly schedule? How do you think we would respond? Whew, all right. This is helpful. Now the self-evaluation on performance. What do you think your scorecard says about your performance? What do you think your clients would say about your performance? And what do you think your team members, not me, not your direct report, what do you think your team members would say about your performance? And then that's where we get into the compensation thing. There are two schools of thoughts on this. We've run pretty hard that you should not have a compensation review during your performance review because we want to split that expectation that compensation comes with performance reviews. But we also realize sometimes it's an easier way to do it to make sure you get them both done. So I'm not going to die on the sword for that one, but I at least want you to consider it. Then those green, yellow, reds we talked about and the action summary that are there. All right, so that's a flyover of the template so you can see how that's done. Hey, just so you know, this will take you an hour. It'll take you an hour and a half per performance review. And then it'll take you, we book 45 minutes for our actual performance review time. We don't want to go over that. We do believe they're too short for 15 minutes, and we think it's too long in an hour. So we kind of book 45, and if we get it done in 30, great, we get it done in 30. But we've done a lot of prep work on the front part to get the value, the repetition, the predictability, and the meaning that leads to that clarity on the back end. Okay, let me stop. Anybody got any questions that are on there? And you guys can go ahead and put those in the chat window. I'm going to show you one more little bonus piece of content. I wasn't planning on showing you, but I'm going to show you. And for our clients, we'll be rolling this out. You'll get the templates. You'll get this all customized to you when you meet with one of your coaches here in the latter part of the year. All right, no more questions coming in. Feel free to put that on there. And then I'm going to show you this, and then we're going to wrap up with how you can get your hands on our performance review template. This one we're not going to make available yet because it's not been perfected, and we want our clients to have it first. So this is our compensation review template. Now I want you to watch how this works. If you go in and you put a team member's base compensation, let's say they make 50,000. So I put 50,000. And then they go, okay, this year they're on track to make 7,000 of commission. And then we did a little quarterly bonus thing or an end of year bonus thing, which we don't like end of year bonus, but that's a whole nother masterclass that we need to do. But let's say we did a quarterly bonus. You follow your coach's advice, you can do a little quarterly bonus. And their quarterly bonus equated to $3,000 over the year. Now, employer taxes are typically going to be about 8-9%, something like that, of total comp. So there's their total comp. And so we're going to multiply that by 0.08. And then, oh, wait, we did an employer match, and that's going to turn out to be about $2,000. And then we actually contributed to healthcare or anything else that the business is paying out on behalf of that employee, right? And so let's say you paid $5,000 or whatever. So now we add all that up because the business is actually paying that. Yes, I understand that the team member is not seeing all of that, but the business is paying all of that. Now, there are about 255 working days in a year. All right. So if you take, I think that's 51 weeks a year or something like that, 50 to 51 weeks a year. And that's the amount of working days. Now, many of you offer paid time off. Well, you're still paying the team member during their paid time off. So whether they're there or not, we need to understand how much is that employee receiving from the business in compensation every day they're either there or they're not there. So based on 255 working days, now you can change that number. If you wanted to go to 250, that's fine. Or if you wanted to go to 260 based on what you do. But 255 is pretty healthy. This example team member is getting compensated at a rate of 281.57 every day, whether they show up or not. So every day the business is paying $281.57 for that person to be a part of the team. Now, we have something that we call schedule reduced work week hours. That means the week of July 4th and the week of Christmas, our team does not work full-time that week. We also obviously have Christmas Day off, Christmas Eve and July 4th and things like that. But we're also not going, hey, we're not off the whole week, but we're not on the whole week either. So you're adults. There are a few things we're asking you to do during that time, checking on clients and do some different things. So what we're going to do is allow you to work your schedule, but we're going to tab it is that you have about 5 days off a year based on that the business just gives you. Well, those 5 days, the business is still paying you. So the compensation value of that's about $1,400 in this example. And then let's say you took 12 days off of vacation, holiday, whatever it was, to be out for whatever. So those 12 days at $281 is $3,378. So up here, $71,000 is the actual comp based on cash and benefits. But when you include the value of time away, because the business is theoretically paying that as well, the actual value of your role that the business is feeling when it invests in you is about $76,586. So what you say is a $50,000 base comp, the business is actually paying out about 26, 30% more than that. It's really clarifying, isn't it? Now, what you can do for next year is you can come down here and you can go, hey, we're actually going to keep your base salary at the same, but watch this. Whereas last year, put a little protection on this, whereas last year you had incentives. Boy, if we can get you to do this, this, and this, and up those incentives to $12,000, and then the bonus incentives, you qualified for $3,000 this year. I believe based on these plans that we have, I believe you can double that and go to $6,000. And then we do all the other stuff. You can see now all of a sudden there's a base comp with incentive of $68,000 where last year was an incentive of $60,000. So Bob, to your earlier question, there's $8,000 of available opportunity that we could try to tie to increased revenue. So get us more leads to this thing that lead to more projects. Get us more of this. If you're in the administrative function, help increase our collections instead of 30 days out to 15 days out, right? There's always triggers that we can put in place that will allow us to be able to increase compensation regardless of the role. I want to make that very clear. Regardless of the role, it doesn't just have to be marketing or sales. It can be any role that we can find metrics that tie back to increased revenue. You've just got to think deeply about it. And for those of you who have a coach, work with your coach to be able to think deeply about what those things are. All right. So that was a little bonus for you. We actually have another thing that we call a pie chart. I talked about that earlier in the year when we did a whole thing on compensation, one of our master classes. All right. So let me tell you what you can do next, because we want you to get value out of this. We want you to be able to go live out your business on purpose with what you do. So let's talk about what this looks like and how you can be a part and draw increased value from what it is that you're building. So I'm gonna pull these slides up so you can see this. So if you want to know how you can implement the live copy of the performance evaluation template, we used to give our templates away, even as of last masterclass, we did. And then we started evaluating because we followed up with some of the people who've been on our masterclasses. And we were pretty deflated to find out that the implementation was drastically low. And we started to ask why. And an old mentor, he passed away last year, Dan Miller, and he used to say this: if you're not paying, you're not paying attention. So we're going to make you pay. Now, for all of our clients, you have access to this, and you've got your coach to be able to work with this in a whole lot deeper level than just getting a template, right? And so there's real value in that. But we're going to make those of you who don't work with us, we're going to make you pay with something far more expensive than your money. All right. We're going to want you to pay with your attention and implementation, because you can't remake attention. It's a non-renewable resource. But we want you to have this live template that you can go work with and actually go implement. We've got you halfway there because we've got dates on the book, right? So there's a powerful way that you can get this template. You can hop on a 15 to 30-minute Zoom meeting with one of our professional coaches, all right? And when you hop on that Zoom meeting with one of our professional coaches, what they're going to do is they're going to try and bait and switch you to sell you. I'm teasing. They're not going to do that. Settle down. What they're going to do is they're going to ask, what questions do you have? What thoughts can I help you run through this for 15, 30 minutes? And they'll walk through any of those questions and then also get you set up with the template. They'll just go, all right, let's make a copy. Let's put it in your name. Let's make sure this thing's customized to what you need. Now, they're not going to fill it out for you. That's on you to do it. But they're just going to get you set up, get you going, find out where it's at in your drive and all that stuff. And then they'll send you on your way. And then if you'll give them permission, they will actually set reminders to send you 2 follow-up texts about a week out and probably 2 or 3 weeks out. Just go, hey, just checking in, seeing how you're doing. And then what we'll do with your text number is we'll sell it to third-party spammers so that we can make a little bit of money off of it. Again, I'm teasing, settle down. Settle down, we're not gonna do that, all right? We just want to send you some things to prompt you for implementation. The second thing they might do if you ask is they will tell you how you can work with us. You can become a client of ours. They will literally walk you through the entire thing. They'll tell you the fees, they'll tell you the investment of time, all of those things. But it's your choice. There are no strings attached. It's your call. If you just want the template to hop on with a coach, we're finding that our implementation skyrockets, but it also selfishly gives us a chance to share our coaching opportunity with you with no strings attached. And if you want to just leave after that, many of you have met us at a Build Expo or something, and you know we're people of our word. We're not going to pressure you on that. So here's what I want you to do. I want you right now, if you want to implement this, to go into the chat window, and I'm going to put this document right here, one-on-one call. And I want you to click on that. I want everybody to click on that. Whether you're going to do this or not, just go ahead and click on it. I want you to open it up. I want to make sure that it opens up. So somebody who opens it up, just give me a thumbs up that it came open. Okay, great. Great. Awesome. So I want you to do that. And then I want you to fill it out. Be honest, please. Don't put like fake stuff in there. Fill it out. Here's my one request. If you fill that out, our coach is going to reach out to you. Please show up. If you don't, we will find where you live. We will come slash your tires, and then we will give a phone number for a tire company where you will have to come pay to get your tires fixed. All right? Some of you have never met us before. Like, these guys are really mean. We're really not. For those of you know us, you love us, we love you, but we got to play around a little bit. So go ahead and open that form. I want you to fill it out. You can hop on a call. We actually have 2 coaches that have set aside time to be able to meet with you in the next 24 to 48 hours. So this is not like we're going to meet with you in 2 weeks. We're going to get you on this right now. We want you to go ahead and fill out that form. They will pull that up. They'll get you the template. And my guess is if you ask really, really nice, they might even give you the compensation template, but don't tell me about it. All right. Just don't tell me about it. So anyway, all right. So I'm going to stop there. I want to go and we're going to do a live Q&A right now. So you're just going to come off mute. If you've got something, we'll facilitate this. But what questions do you have about the performance review? What questions do you have about the compensation review? Don't hold back. Now's your time. You've got our full attention. So come off mute. I'll see you come off mute and just fire away. Alan Patterson, I see you holding your hand up. Come off mute.
Hey, how you doing?
Gotcha. Good to see you.
Yeah. Well, we'll get on chat and I'll get up with you. I'll give you a call.
Okay.
But,
that's great.
All right.
Funny story about Alan Patterson. Alan Patterson builds houses right across the street from my house. I've lived in that house 8 years. He builds houses across the street from my house. 86% of our clients are contractors. And I'd never met Alan Patterson until about 2 months ago at a 20 club in Kansas City. I had to fly halfway across the country to go meet Alan Patterson, who drives across the street. But anyway, funny story.
Right.
Travis, you put in there, how often do you reference the evaluation document throughout the year and after the meetings? Great point, Travis. So we did not really do that this year. You bring up a good point. But here, I want to go back to this. Remember the big 5 feedback loop: team meetings, departmental meetings, executive meetings, one-on-one check-ins, performance evaluations. Your one-on-one check-ins throughout the year, that would be a great time to pull your evaluation up and just go, hey, let's just kind of take a look, see your progress. And maybe you don't do it every check-in. Maybe you just do it 4 times a year, quarterly. But here's the catch. You got to put it on the calendar. Put it on the calendar. Hey, this check-in, we're going to make sure that we ask about those things. Really great question. Travis, did that answer your question? Oh, I see you guys in the room up there.
Yes, you did.
Okay, awesome.
Yeah, that's great.
Where are you guys at?
Whitefish, Montana.
Oh, that's right. That's right. You guys are up there.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's
awesome.
snowing outside right now.
I was just about to ask if snow has started.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's why it's all white.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's, I got to say, though, it's got to be worth it. Whitefish is so beautiful. Well, that's good.
Yeah.
I'm really glad you guys joined us. Thank you.
Yep. Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. Any other questions from anybody? Just come off mute. Fire away. Okay. Good deal. All right. Hey, we have these master classes at least once monthly. They are entirely free. We're an education and implementation company. This is what we do. We try to equip and empower in a way that's repetitious, predictable, and meaning so that you can be liberated from chaos and make time for what matters most. Okay. So I want you to go to that form again. If you haven't already filled it out, I'm going to put it back in the chat window right there if you didn't get a chance for it, because as soon as I hit cancel on that meeting, that thing goes away. You won't be able to get access to it. So go ahead and click on it. make sure it opens up, start filling that out. And by this afternoon, you will hear through text, you will hear from one of the coaches. That's a real person. It's not a bot. Okay. Please don't hit stop and send or wrong number. Who dis? Don't do that. All right. That's going to be a real person, and you can respond to them, and they'll set up a time in Zoom. If you happen to be in the low country, they can set up a time to meet with you one-on-one. Just come into our office. It's here in Bluffton, South Carolina. Come on down. We'd love to be able to meet with you. Richard, you're welcome. You're very, very welcome. Travis, you guys in Whitefish, thank you for coming on. So many of you, it's great to see. And we will come back in November. And for those of you who we have a chance to work with as clients, get ready. Prep week starts next week. We're going to lay it down, man. We're going to lay it down 3 weeks in a row that we've got you, that we're going to be walking through vision, annual letter, culture counter rebuild. Week 2, all of your business budgeting, past, present, and future. Week 3, it's all of your personal finance, where you got to talk to your spouse about money. Oh, it's going to be hard, but it's going to be so good. All right. Hey guys, thank you all so much. Mark, great to see you, man. Les, great to see you. A lot of the 20 Club guys on here. So great to see you guys. You guys have a great rest of your day, and make sure to go fill that out to hop on, and we'll get you a copy of that template. All right, everybody. Thank you so much. Take care.